Hey everybody, it is Libby with WootRecruit. What is WootRecruit? Well, we are the go-to recruiting program for the high turnover industry, such as lawn care, cleaning, landscaping, construction, you name it. If you're in the service-based industry, we are here for you. We are the first ever recruitment program tailored exclusively for the service-based industry, turning recruiting into a growth engine. Stay tuned to transform your hiring. I am super excited to have a guest today. Aaron is our guest. He's also a WootRecruit customer, but we're not going to talk about that. Some tips for our listeners on our YouTube channel on if they're struggling in certain areas. And so I'm not going to lie, if anyone ever tells you they're a recruiting expert, they're full of baloney because you cannot become an expert on something that's always changing and evolving, like hiring and recruiting and culture. It's an evolution of our business. So we wanted to talk today a little bit on that recruiting process, or sorry, culture and hiring process. And I know that Aaron has worked super hard to really establish that culture in his business. And I feel that he's one of those leaders that is doing it by example. So
Thank
tell
you.
us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Sure. So my name's Aaron Coleman. I have a cleaning business. It's called Platinum Star Cleaning out in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania.
Awesome.
And we have about 18, I think we're about 18 employees right now, 18 or 19. We kind of fluctuate.
Okay, awesome. So let's jump into, I asked Aaron, what's he want to talk about? Recruiting or hiring or the culture aspect? And he's like, oh, I love all of it. So let's talk about culture.
Yeah.
What are some of the things that you consider to be super, because it's hard to measure, right? We can't touch it. We can kind of feel it. But how do you know if you have a good culture? What are some of the things you're doing to establish that good culture in your business?
So I think one of the most important things is having communication with the employees is a huge thing. We ran into something a couple weeks ago that we corrected, and we saw that there was a lot of chatter going
See,
on in
always
between
evolving.
some of the employees. Yeah, always, all the time. And I was like, so we started doing well, we have quarterly meetings, and then we do one-on-ones once a month for 15-20 minutes, and we bring everybody in, and I suggest if everyone does that, make sure that if you put it on the calendar, you make sure you tell the employee that it's not them getting in trouble. Because they automatically think that they're getting in trouble.
Yes. My other tip is make
Yeah.
sure you don't reschedule it.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
I made
Most
that
definitely.
mistake, and they thought that the meeting was so not important that I was just rescheduling it, so I didn't hold it of value. That's how they perceived it.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we had this the one-on-ones, and we started realizing that a couple like one employee's name kept popping up. And we said to in the admin team, we said, what is going on here? And so what we realized was that there was one employee that was basically going and having conversations with other employees. So what we did was I had a meeting with everybody again individually, and I basically just kind of preached that, listen, this is your tribe. These are the people that you're working with. You don't want, just how we say that integrity and honesty is our biggest things with our customers, we don't want that with our employees as well. So if you have somebody that is, wanting to have discussions with you on a subject, or an employee that you have no control over, that this is the tools that you should basically say to the person. And basically we told them is that you say, I can't really give you insight on that because I wasn't there, and nor was I involved in that situation. So you should really go to the office and really speak to them about it. I said, and what happens then is that that person will have no one to talk to.
Yeah.
If everyone responds in that manner. And, it really worked because I told them, like, when you're working, you don't want to hear somebody constantly complaining, because if they're the ones that are constantly complaining, I have news for you. They're going to go to their next job and they're going to do the same thing. And they're going to go to their next job and they're going to do the same thing. And they're going to go to their next one and do the same thing. So the writing was on the wall with this one particular employee, and they came in during one-on-ones, and they were actually wearing slippers.
Oh.
And I yeah, and I said, oh, I looked down and I looked down at their feet and I looked up at them and I was like, um, are you wearing that for work? And she said, yes, I don't have my sneakers. And I said, well, you need to be in uniform. You need to have sneakers on. And then she said, do you want me to go clean or you want me to go get sneakers?
Oh.
And this is, yeah. And I kind of looked and I was like, well, I want you to go get sneakers for your safety, you
Mhm.
know? And she goes, well, I'll just quit. And I said, okay. I said, that's fine. And we were kind of on the fence about, you know, the one particular employee. So I was just like, let it be, let, you know, just let it end. But after that employee had left, you know, that was when we found out that it was this particular employee that was going around and
Yeah.
doing this stuff, and other employees were afraid to speak up. And you know, we kind of basically said, listen, you have every right to speak up. We don't want you to be in a culture where you feel that you don't have a voice. And it's important because, you know, this is your tribe. You don't want that energy to come in and ruin it. You want to be able to go to work, do your job, make money, have a good time, be happy. And that's what we kind of just, you know, we preach every day to them.
Yeah.
You know, we send notes to them every day. We send messages out on Monday. So we do things to really empower them to know that they have a positive work atmosphere.
Awesome. I love that. Because so many people are scared of hiring, recruiting. They don't, this is, I will say that recruiting is not the sexy topic of business. We look at it like, oh, I have to hire somebody again. We only do it when we need to do it. We look at it as an expense, right? And then we also get burnt because we make bad choices or bad hires. Or it makes us
Hmm.
think that everybody out there, like, this is my pet peeve right now when people say, oh, everybody's garbage. Nobody wants to work. I'm like, well, who are you to
Hmm.
judge what garbage is? Right.
Yeah, yeah,
But and it's
yep.
so the employee that was doing this, it's no like that's kind of who she is. Um, she may
Hmm.
be a negative Nelly, and it is not necessarily my job to change her, but I do think that
Hmm.
allowing her to leave, also arming your employees with the proper tools, which is how do you respond during this situation, because maybe they don't even know how to respond to it. They don't necessarily
Hmm.
have leadership
And a lot of
skills.
people didn't.
No,
Hmm.
that's almost like a leadership skill. How do you handle a difficult situation? That was a difficult situation. Um,
Hmm.
but not even just pegging her as a bad person. Oh, she's horrible. It's just that she wasn't a good fit. And
Yeah, yeah.
you didn't get mad. You didn't say that everybody's horrible and nobody wants to work. Um, you just let it happen and you move on.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Going back, what you're saying, like with nobody wants to work, I think that also leads into perception, you
Mhm.
know, and I think that perception is one of the worst things for employers or entrepreneurs when they see people coming in and they're interviewing. You know, you can't put that judgment, oh, they'll never be able to be a cleaner, or oh, they're not going to work out. It's a judgment, and it's the worst thing that you can have, because some of, you know, people that have walked in that have never had an opportunity to work in a positive atmosphere or a great company with a great employee culture where they can shine. And I think it's so important that you realize that, to not have that perception. Because some of our best employees that anybody probably would have never given a chance on are amazing. You know,
Mhm.
they have shined. They're doing amazing. They don't get complaints. They come to work. They're the employees that we never hear from,
Yeah.
because we're the right we're the right fit for them. And we check in with them and we say, how's everything going? And everything's great. And they just, then they give you the gratitude back. And that's what we love to see, is that we get that gratitude from our employees back to us, where, oh, you guys were amazing. I've never had a job like this before, where our employer has cared, or they can speak to you at, eye to eye on the same level. And I said, of course, we're human beings, like that's how you're supposed to treat each other. I'm not going to ever talk down to you, or make you feel that you're below me. Um, and it turns out to be a really good work atmosphere.
I love that you brought up judgment. Because when it comes to the interview process, like recruiting, again, one of the common things that we hear from entrepreneurs that are struggling is that, like, oh, everybody who's showing up to my interview is garbage. Like they're, and that is like the number one statement we hear all the time. And
Hmm.
when you said the word judgment, that's what they're doing. Like they're judging that
Hmm.
applicant based off of their appearance. Because what else
Yeah.
do you have to judge it off of
Hmm. Yeah.
during an interview?
You have
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes. Yeah. I mean, you have 10, 15 minutes to get to know someone real quick. And I think that, having the proper questions and asking the proper questions is extremely important to see. And your question should reflect upon your culture and your ability to what you believe in your company. And that is the part that we shine on, because we ask hard questions. We ask, people, and to see if they're positive or if they're negative, or how they work with other team members. And we get to know them on a different level. And we ask them, what are their aspirations? What are their dreams? What do they want to do in life? And uh, it's hard when somebody's confronting with something like that. But you can't just judge somebody by the way that they look, or by the way that they came in. And I believe that giving people opportunities has been probably our chances of having some of the best employees that we have right now. I mean, we have such a remarkable team. I mean, we had all of their pictures taken this past Sunday, and we did headshots, and we had breakfast for them, and they were just so happy, and their interactions with each other was amazing. And a lot of people, of course, don't know each other, so they had that little bit of an hour to get to know each other. And, oh, where are you, and who are you, and how long have you worked here, and that kind of stuff, until we have our next quarterly meeting, of course.
Yeah, we do the same thing with the quarterly meetings, and sometimes they don't know each other. So, essentially our cleaning companies are remote companies, because culture can't be built just by passing by a water cooler or having lunch together at the break
Hmm.
room. It takes a different level of effort. It takes organized effort to build that culture when we're dealing with remote field staff.
Yeah. And it's one of these things too, with like quarterly meetings. When people think of a quarterly meeting with employees, they think that they're gonna get like a packet, and it's gonna be like, you're not doing this and you're not doing that, and you have to do this and you have to do
Yeah,
that. When they come to our quarterly meetings, it has nothing to do about cleaning.
yeah, ours
It's
too.
it's all about, yeah, it's all about empowerment. It's all about motivation. It's all about team building. And we spend about 4 hours in that morning. We do it on typically a Monday or a Tuesday during the week. So everybody has to come. We don't make it after at night, or we
Yep.
don't make it on the weekends, because employees will not show up, and nor should you make your employees come on off hours. And we had a great one this past January, and I was talking to you and your husband about it, where we had some team building exercises at the end, and one of them was like balloons, like being able, you keep throwing more and more into the group, and it gives them the strategy of working together until the one drops. And so we did that one, and then the other one was when we came back to the table, we talked about the strategy of what was the point of the exercise. And everybody was, I mean, when they did it, they were laughing, they're giggling, they're having a great time. And they come back to the table and we ask some questions like, what was the point of that, you think? And, everyone hit on a different experience. And the second question that we followed up with team building was, if you could if you could relive the happiest moment of your life at the last moments of your life, what would it be? And it was such a powerful moment for that whole group that we had, because, when you're confronted with that type of question, it brought tears, it brought laughter, it brought pain. We learned about suicide, we learned about drug abuse, we learned about death, we learned about sexual abuse, and these girls were or women, these young women were all open at one table. And what happened was that now, they've realized that, oh, let's just say Mary, that's the why that Mary's the way that she is because her father killed himself, or there was that connection with, other people that had suicide in their family, or death, or different things. And even though it was somber and a lot of people were crying, uh, it was also brought up the happiest moments that they had with those particular people. So it was pretty powerful. And you know, when you realize that you do something right, is when every single employee came up to us afterwards and sent messages for days, like the whole week. And they said that was the most amazing thing that they've ever experienced. And that was a win. That was our win. That it was like, this is, I get emotional, but that's what makes me a great leader now, is that I can give this to them, and they will carry this for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. And it's why people will always want to come work for you. Right.
Hmm. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, and it's yeah, we make that connection, and it's so important to make that connection with your employees and not just look at them as a cleaner. you
Yeah,
know they they have a story, and what I want to do is I want to know their story. you
absolutely.
know I want to know their story. I want to help them with their story, and if I could just be a small part of that story in their life, or a big part, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
I love that. And so we'll end on that note because that's great. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So if you enjoyed this
Hmm.
episode of our YouTube channel, please don't forget to subscribe and share it with another entrepreneur, business owner who may be struggling with recruiting or retention or culture. Again, I'm Libby with WootRecruit. We are your go-to recruiting program, and we're here to help you solve those recruiting issues so that you can focus on what's important, which is growing that business.